What would happen if African nations completely severed their ties with the West? Would they become isolated, or would new opportunities emerge? Western powers often assume that countries like Burkina Faso cannot function without their support. Yet nations such as Cuba and Venezuela have openly backed Burkina Faso's move toward independence, believing it is in the country's best interest to distance itself from Western influence, just as Iran and Russia have done. The West, however, is far from pleased with this development. Western leaders disagree with President Ibrahim Traoré, who is driving these major geopolitical decisions. Given the historical responses of Western governments toward leaders who oppose their interests, many now wonder whether similar patterns will repeat themselves. So the question remains, is Burkina Faso destined to face the same fate as past leaders who resisted Western dominance? Imagine a nation deep in the heart of Africa writing its own story, forming new alliances, and boldly challenging the world's most powerful countries. Under President Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso is building partnerships with Russia and South American states to navigate a new and complex global landscape. But what sparked this dramatic geopolitical realignment? Burkina Faso, a landlocked West African nation, has long been shaped by its colonial past. Today, under Traoré's leadership, the country is re-examining those historical ties. After assuming power in September 2022, Traoré took a decisive step on February 8, 2024, ordering the withdrawal of French troops from Burkina Faso. This bold decision marked the beginning of a significant global shift. Expelling French forces was more than political symbolism. It was a firm rejection of neocolonialism and a declaration of sovereignty. This move laid the foundation for new alliances, particularly with nations like Venezuela. Although Burkina Faso and France share long-standing ties rooted in colonial history, Traoré's administration has been determined to break away from that legacy. Removing French forces was not only symbolic, it was a calculated strategy to reclaim national control and reduce foreign interference. The decision resonated across Africa, positioning Traoré as a prominent voice in the continent's ongoing struggle for true independence. On Monday, Burkina Faso's government confirmed it would end the military agreement that allowed French troops to operate within its borders. For years, militants affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State had destabilized the region, displacing millions and claiming vast territories across the Sahel. According to national television reports, the government suspended the 2018 military pact with France on January 18, giving French forces 1 month to withdraw. The next day, President Emmanuel Macron sought clarification from interim President Traoré, but government spokesperson Remtolba Jean-Emmanuel Wadiogo stated that the decision needed no further explanation. France's expulsion triggered international reactions. Across Africa, the move symbolized a growing push for autonomy and self-determination. While some praised Traoré's courage, others warned of the potential risks. Nonetheless, this turning point allowed Burkina Faso to reshape its foreign policy, prioritizing partnerships with countries that share its vision of sovereignty and economic freedom. In recent years, many African nations have struggled to balance their aspirations for genuine independence with existing relationships with former colonial powers. Traoré's decision to remove French troops reflects a broader shift toward more equitable partnerships, rather than continued neocolonial pressures. Many believe this shift is crucial for establishing long-term stability and development. The implications of this transformation are profound. By cutting ties with France, Burkina Faso is not only reaffirming its sovereignty, but also signaling to other African nations that development does not have to depend on former colonial powers. Under Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the country is pursuing partnerships rooted in mutual respect and shared goals rather than old models of exploitation. In this discussion, we will explore the strategic alliances Burkina Faso is building and the potential impact of these new partnerships. Let's begin with its growing relationship with Venezuela. How did this connection emerge, and what makes it significant? Share your thoughts about Africa's path to total liberation in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more insightful content. Let's proceed. Burkina Faso's rapport with Venezuela began strengthening soon after Traoré made the bold decision to expel French troops. On February 8, 2024, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro invited Traoré, marking a major step in their bilateral ties. Following this invitation, the foreign ministers of both nations, Ibrahim and Jean-Marie Traoré, held a landmark meeting where they signed 20 cooperation agreements. These agreements span diverse sectors including energy, education, agriculture, sports, aviation, culture, and science and technology. Such comprehensive collaboration reflects a strong commitment to partnership and shared progress. Beyond economic cooperation, Venezuela has also expressed support for Burkina Faso through military assistance, reflecting a shared anti-imperialist stance. Minister Gil emphasized Venezuela's intention to strengthen its relationships with Burkina Faso and the African continent within the broader framework of South-South cooperation. One of the most strategic components of these agreements is the energy partnership, which includes sending a team of oil specialists and technicians from Burkina Faso to Venezuela. This initiative allows Burkina Faso to benefit from Venezuela's extensive experience in the oil sector, potentially enhancing its economic prospects. The agreements also touch on key development areas. Joint aeronautics initiatives could modernize infrastructure and boost technological growth. Agricultural cooperation focuses on skills exchange aimed at improving food security and increasing local production. Cultural programs are designed to strengthen social ties and deepen mutual understanding. Education and sports also play an important role in the partnership. These sectors are vital for shaping resilient, educated, and healthy populations, foundations that are essential for long-term national development. Military collaboration is another major pillar of the alliance. Through promised defense support, Venezuela could help Burkina Faso reinforce national security and protect its sovereignty. This military assistance reflects a broader strategy of resisting external pressure and ensuring internal stability. Beyond their immediate benefits, these agreements symbolize a shared commitment to self-reliance and a development model that reduces dependence on Western powers. They represent a growing movement of South-South cooperation, where developing nations work together to pursue independence and mutual advancement. With these alliances expanding, what does this mean for Burkina Faso on the international stage? Burkina Faso's cooperation with Venezuela fits into a larger network that includes several South American nations and Russia. Historically, especially during the Cold War, countries such as Cuba, Venezuela, and Argentina aligned themselves with Russia. Influential leaders like Fidel Castro, Hugo Chavez, and Che Guevara championed anti-imperialist ideals, and their influence continues to shape today's political landscape. Venezuela's current backing of Burkina Faso reflects a continuation of its long-standing anti-imperialist tradition. Burkina Faso's alignment with countries that challenge Western influence marks a clear departure from traditional alliances with the West. Economically, this shift opens new avenues for development in key sectors such as energy, agriculture, and education. At the same time, assistance from countries closely connected to Russia, such as Cuba and Venezuela, could significantly strengthen Burkina Faso's military capabilities. These changes may also reshape political dynamics within West Africa. Burkina Faso's choice to cooperate with Russia and South American partners, while distancing itself from Western powers, could inspire other African nations to reassess their diplomatic strategies. Such a trend may contribute to a broader regional realignment, potentially disrupting long-standing power structures dominated by Western-aligned states and former colonial nations. Moreover, Burkina Faso's growing ties with Venezuela could serve as an example for other African countries seeking more balanced, non-Western alliances. In a world that is increasingly multipolar, This could diminish the dominance of Western nations and encourage a more even distribution of global influence. Expanded cooperation among Global South countries may lead to new political and economic blocs that challenge established systems and promote a fairer global order. This foreign policy transformation may also influence major international institutions such as the African Union and the United Nations. As more nations reject traditional hierarchies and assert their independence, these organizations may need to adapt to new priorities and demands. Burkina Faso's partnership with Venezuela and other South American nations highlights the growing importance of South-South cooperation. Unlike the historically hierarchical relationships often seen with Western countries, South-South partnerships emphasize solidarity, equality, and mutual benefit. Such collaboration enables developing countries to share resources, ideas, and development strategies, fostering more inclusive and sustainable growth worldwide. Burkina Faso's geopolitical shift may also affect global energy markets. By strengthening its ties with Venezuela, a major oil-producing nation, Burkina Faso stands to gain valuable access to energy resources and technical expertise. This could reduce its dependence on Western energy imports and enhance national energy security. As more countries follow a similar path, the global energy landscape could shift, with nations diversifying their energy sources and investing in more resilient infrastructures. How have regional and international organizations responded to Burkina Faso's recent diplomatic changes? The global community, especially Western countries, has closely monitored developments. In response to Burkina Faso's growing alliances with South American states, Western powers have imposed sanctions on Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. These sanctions are intended to pressure the countries to reconsider their partnerships and return to traditional Western-aligned blocs. On Sunday, the military governments of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger issued a joint statement announcing their immediate withdrawal from the West African Economic Community, further solidifying their new geopolitical direction. The military governments of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger accused the regional economic bloc ECOWAS of imposing harsh sanctions aimed at reversing the coups that brought them to power. In a joint announcement broadcast on state television across all three countries, the juntas declared their withdrawal from ECOWAS after nearly 5 decades of membership. According to the statement, the decision was made in full sovereignty, and the bloc had drifted away from its Pan-African foundations and the ideals of its founding leaders. The juntas further argued that ECOWAS had become a threat to member states and their citizens due to what they described as external interference. This announcement comes in the wake of a series of political upheavals in West Africa, including a coup in Niger earlier in 2024 that intensified regional instability. With increasing support from Russia, the three nations have cut their military ties with France and other European allies, choosing instead to forge a new security partnership among themselves. Despite the sanctions placed upon them, Burkina Faso has received considerable backing from its new international partners. On July 2, 2024, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro dispatched a delegation to Burkina Faso to reaffirm South America's support. The visit highlighted the strengthening relationship between the two regions and their shared commitment to cooperative development. During discussions with President Ibrahim Traoré, the delegation pledged both financial and military assistance, reinforcing the country's efforts to diversify its alliances. These developments mark a major transformation in Burkina Faso's foreign policy, one that moves away from dependency on Western nations and embraces a more diversified and self-reliant geopolitical stance. This shift has sparked debate both within Burkina Faso and among its supporters. Some believe that aligning with anti-imperialist partners is the most effective path forward, while others argue that maintaining ties with Western countries is necessary for long-term economic security. Nevertheless, Burkina Faso has remained steadfast in its new diplomatic direction. Rather than discouraging the government, Western sanctions have strengthened Traoré's resolve to pursue alternative partnerships. Backing from Venezuela and other South American states has provided Burkina Faso with the resources and confidence needed to resist external pressure. Regional bodies, such as ECOWAS, have also reacted strongly to Burkina Faso's evolving alliances. Having traditionally aligned with Western interests, ECOWAS has expressed concern over the country's new diplomatic and security direction. While calling for dialogue and peaceful engagement, the bloc has emphasized the importance of regional stability and cooperation. The tension between respecting national sovereignty and preserving regional unity presents a difficult challenge for ECOWAS. Burkina Faso's pivot toward anti-imperialist alliances raises questions about the future of regional cooperation and the broader balance of power in West Africa. International organizations, including the United Nations, have also taken note of recent developments. The UN has stressed the importance of peaceful conflict resolution and adherence to international norms. As Burkina Faso pursues its new partnerships, the global community will be watching closely to ensure that the country remains committed to these principles. The responses from regional and global institutions highlight the far-reaching consequences of Burkina Faso's geopolitical shift. While the support of Venezuela and other allies provides a buffer against external pressure, the country must still navigate a complex network of international expectations, security concerns, and diplomatic challenges. Moving forward, continued progress will depend on careful strategy, thoughtful engagement, and a balanced approach to safeguarding its sovereignty while maintaining regional and global stability. Looking ahead, several potential outcomes await Burkina Faso as it continues to redefine its foreign policy and navigate the global reactions to its recent decisions. The path the country takes will largely depend on a set of critical factors and the choices made by President Ibrahim Traoré. At the center of this turning point is a pivotal dilemma. Should Burkina Faso deepen its alignment with Russia, Cuba, and Venezuela, or should it reconsider its stance and move back toward ECOWAS, a bloc more closely associated with the geopolitical interests of France and the United States? Backed by Venezuela and other South American partners, Burkina Faso has an opportunity to benefit from new economic and military partnerships. These alliances could channel investment into essential sectors, potentially boosting growth and strengthening national development. However, aligning with anti-imperialist groups also carries significant risks, including economic sanctions and diplomatic isolation from Western powers. On the other hand, re-engaging with ECOWAS and maintaining ties with Western nations could offer quicker access to financial assistance, development funds, and broader economic stability. Yet such a move would weaken Burkina Faso's pursuit of autonomy and its efforts to distance itself from neo-colonial influence. In the end, the decision lies in weighing the long-term vision of sovereignty against the immediate advantages of Western engagement. President Traoré must analyze both the benefits and drawbacks of each direction. His choice will not only shape Burkina Faso's future, but also influence the country's standing on the international stage. The implications extend far beyond national borders. If Burkina Faso's current strategy proves successful, it could inspire other African nations to explore similar alliances and seek greater independence in their foreign policy. This could spark a broader continental shift towards self-determination and post-colonial restructuring. Furthermore, partnerships with Venezuela and other South American nations may unlock new economic prospects. Technological cooperation could accelerate innovation, support job creation, and stimulate national development. Shared expertise and capacity-building initiatives would also strengthen Burkina Faso's path toward a more resilient and self-sustaining economy. Nevertheless, the challenges must not be underestimated. Western sanctions could disrupt trade, reduce access to investment, and limit entry into global markets. Diplomatic isolation may also restrict Burkina Faso's influence in global institutions and international negotiations. Navigating these obstacles will require strategic foresight, disciplined policymaking, and skilled diplomacy. Internally, Burkina Faso must also consider how these foreign policy decisions impact its population. Public trust, national cohesion, and widespread support will be essential for whichever path the leadership chooses. Maintaining open communication with the public, encouraging civil society involvement, and building consensus will play a major role in sustaining unity during this period of transformation. Burkina Faso now stands at a defining moment. Under Ibrahim Traoré, the nation has embarked on an ambitious effort to reclaim control over its future and explore new diplomatic horizons. The removal of French forces and the shift toward partnerships with South American nations mark a profound change in the country's geopolitical direction. These new alliances bring meaningful opportunities for economic and military collaboration, but they also introduce substantial risks and challenges. Global responses, including Western sanctions, underscore the magnitude of this shift. The path Burkina Faso chooses next will be determined by Traoré's ability to balance competing pressures and navigate a rapidly evolving geopolitical environment. Whether the country ultimately strengthens its ties with anti-imperialist allies or reconnects with traditional Western partners, one thing remains clear. Burkina Faso is entering a period of significant transformation. Its future will depend on how well it can balance sovereignty, diplomatic relationships, and national development in a changing world. So what do you think? Do Burkina Faso or any African nation truly need Western protection? Or are these so-called partnerships simply another form of deception? What happens when African countries decide to stand without Western backing? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. We explore the rich history, culture, and the ongoing struggle for sovereignty in Africa. Join us in this important conversation by subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you're not just staying informed. You're becoming part of a movement dedicated to reclaiming Africa's rightful place on the global stage. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Let's work together to spread knowledge and inspire change. Thanks for watching.